Welcome to Education Policy. If you have not already, please silence your phones. Do we have any guests that we need to recognize? The one time I remember this, we do not. Okay. I would like to ask before we get started, Representative Paramore to open us in prayer, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you'll bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you, and we're privileged for the opportunity to represent our constituents in the great state of Alabama. Please lead us and guide us in everything we say and do, and make it be pleasing unto your sight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Representative Collins.
Here.
Representative Baker. Here. Representative Drummond. Representative Daniels. Representative DuBose. Representative Estes. Here. Representative Fincher. Here. Representative Gidley. Representative Gray. Representative Holk Jones. Representative Morris. Representative Paramore. Representative Pascal. Representative Smith. Representative Woods. A quorum is present.
Thank you very much. We are actually going to go from bottom to top because some people need to travel and have bills in other committees. So first up, we're going to call Senate Bill 294, which is very similar to the bill we passed in. I saw him come in. Oh, there! I couldn't. Please join us. I'm trying to get you to your next committee meeting.
Thank you very much.
If you will tell us about the bill, we had a public hearing and it was kind of pulled, but after it should have been, so we do have one speaker. But if you'll introduce your bill, and then we have an amendment for that
Okay.
you and I discussed. Thank you.
All right, give me just 1 second. 210,
No, this one is 294.
294. Okay, 294. Let's see what we got on 294.
And if you see 171 while you're flipping through, that one's next.
Oh, okay, okay. 294. I had the wrong ed policy. I just want you to know that I had sent it. All right, 294. Okay, sure. This.
I believe you called me to add it this weekend.
Hey, you know I've been wide open today. I just have to tell y'all that, and I'm still. I don't see no light until about 5 o'clock this evening. But this bill will provide an opportunity for us to have a chaplain in our schools, and contrary to, and I'm gonna kind of address what a couple people asked me because they was wondering. No, this has nothing to do with replacing counselors or nothing of that nature. They're not trying to go in and substitute for counselors, but they're trying to be there to provide whatever spiritual confidence and relationship and relationship that teachers need in particular, and that the school may designate for a time, such as I don't want to talk like this, but because I don't want to wish this on nobody, but we've had some crises in our schools, and in order for the school to be able to do that on their own, or the board to set the policy to do it, then we have to have the opportunity for them to do it, and that's why we have this piece of legislation. But that's what it's set there for that assistance. And I'm gonna just kind of just share with you all just something that's always been kind of close to me in relationship to this, is that I'm speaking for my own self, and I know there's some folks, this has nothing to do with that, but it relates to that. I'm a person, I believe in prayer. I mean, I'm sorry, I believe in the Lord, and I believe in prayer. And we have kids teaching everybody else who, when they come to school, they have dodged bullets all night. They've heard shootings all night. They come to school that need some kind of comforting, or some kind of situation. And this may be the only place that they get some of this. They don't have it at home. They don't have it at, mama working 2 or 3 jobs. I ain't trying to be belittle nobody, but I'm saying it like this. You got Ray keeping them, and Ray in the back with his boys, and they're just there. And these kids come and they need whatever assistance. You got teachers who deal with all this stuff we see in classrooms, and they have moments that they have free periods, and they need an opportunity to be able to address that minister, and they just would like the option to do that. So that's what this bill does.
Okay, thank you. We are going to start the public hearing. We have one speaker signed up, Adam Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. My name is Adam Jortner. I'm the Godwin Philpott Professor of Religion at Auburn University. I don't say that because it means I know more about the gospel than anyone, but because it is the world's greatest job. I love this job, and it means I get to teach about Christianity to Auburn students. It goes without saying, I'm speaking just for myself here, and of course, not for the institution that employs me. But I do teach a lot about how, not necessarily, who knows. There are many people in Alabama who know more about the gospel than I do. Fight over the gospel, and I believe that this bill, as currently written, is a threat to the rights of the Christian majority in this state. Let me explain what I mean. Alabama is a majority Christian state, but it is also true that in America, every parent has the right to choose their own religion and the right to oversee their children's spiritual development. That is a sacred right that Christians take to counsel and teach their children. I worry that this bill will make us share that right with a school board. The current language of the bill does not stress that the pastor or chaplain should be non-denominational. It does not indicate that the chaplain is only for teachers. The fact of the matter is that Christians do not agree with one another. If you are a Southern Baptist, you understand this. If you are not, I'm telling you. The fact is that Christians don't agree with each other, and so we parents choose very carefully the guides and pastors that we choose for our children. And this bill makes us share that right with a school board. It makes it as likely that a Mormon would be my child's counselor, my child's chaplain as a Baptist. Nothing against the Mormons. I like the Mormons, but I have theological disagreements with them, and they are the fastest growing branch of Christianity in Alabama. Christians should not surrender their right to teach their children the gospel simply because their children attend the public schools. The fact is, if you are a Christian in Alabama, you have heard a preacher at one point or another say something you really disagreed with in church, and you said to your children afterwards, hey, I need to tell you about this. The difference is that if that happens in church, I can be in charge of talking my child through it. If it takes place at school, I cannot. The rights of our religious minorities are important, and I'm sure you'll hear much about this, but I also feel that this bill, as written, represents a threat to the right of Christian parents to teach their children the gospel as they see fit. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. That closes our public hearing. If you've got any questions, I would like, if someone would want to offer the amendment, and then we'll be talking about the bill. Do I hear a motion? Thank you, Representative Drummond, offering the amendment. Second, Representative DuBose, I appreciate it. I want to thank the sponsor in the Senate and the sponsor in the House that are here for working through some of this. There was some concern about using school money for paying this, and so it made it a volunteer. And about 8 of these simply take out that word employee or accept or hire, it takes out a hire that. That's what the one on 6, 16, 28, 31, 33, and 48. That's why it's such a long one, is it does that throughout it. There were 3 other changes I want to point out, though, that are a little bit different. On line 16, that is one that's different, and it's a shall to a may. I think I've got that the right way. Well, this one's not a sub, it's just the Senate bill. 294. Are these lined up? Let's look at line 6. It takes employee out. Line 16. Oh, that one is, it takes require, and it changes it to allow. I apologize. It's better just to go in order, and then we're not making mistakes, so I apologize. 31 takes employee out, allows them to do that. 33 takes that employment out. 40 takes employment out. That's going to be the same on 44, 47, 49. I believe the other one change is going to be on 57 through 58. That one simply adds a number 1 because we're going to add a number 2 that Senator Smitherman asked us about. And then there is a online. It's a part of where we add the number 1. It's the May, and it's on line 47, but it's a part of that replace lines 58, 57 through 58. And that changes a shall to a may there. And then we add the part Senator Smitherman talked to us about if a local board of education, this is our number 2, governing a body of public charter school votes to accept a campus chaplain as a volunteer, a campus chaplain may be made available to provide support, services, and programs at the request of any teacher or local school district. Having that request by the teacher was important. That is the amendment. Are there any questions about the amendment? Okay, we have a
Are we missing a
Mr.
date
Bustos.
on 61, on line 61? It just says becomes effective on August, or am I missing something here? On the amendment itself? Because the original list says October, but this one says August, and then there's no.
It didn't,
Okay.
it changed that one word,
changed
but
the
it
month.
didn't change
Okay.
the next
Thank you
month.
for the
Yes,
clarification.
Good question, thank you. Any other? We have a motion and a second to amend the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill is amended. Are there any questions about the legislation for Senator Smitherman? Representative Daniels.
Yes, Senator, how you doing?
Blessed by the best.
Long night last night.
Yeah, I didn't even get to my hotel at 12:30.
Question about the chaplains. Are there like background checks or anything like that? How do we?
Yeah,
Okay, there are. The school system would do it. Or who would do that?
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's who should be able to do it. The school system
Okay.
itself.
Yeah, I received a call about this over the weekend from Bishop in Birmingham, and so quite an interesting bill.
Yeah, it's it's needed. I just tell you that I've had numerous teachers. In fact, where I live is a community of teachers and retired teachers, and so when I come out to take the trash, they talking to me.
Representative Morris.
Comment because earlier it was said about the children being able to receive a different type of gospel or something like that, but this bill is strictly for teachers, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
not for children.
That's correct. That's what it's for. Hmm.
Yeah, it's just for the teachers. They're and it's at the request.
That's
It's
correct.
not mandatory for the teachers to actually go and talk to a chaplain.
Mm-mm.
It's at their own request.
It is.
And I remember a little while back, well, not a little while back, but last week we received this book, this binder. It says Stories from Alabama's Classroom. So I keep this to remind myself whenever we have bills like this that actually come up, why we are actually doing this work. We're doing this work for our teachers' safety. And if they need to have someone to talk to, then we should allow them that access. So thank you.
And thank you.
Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick question. It's even, I guess, maybe of less significance now that the word employee has sort of been removed from that. This being a local board decision to establish a policy, although it speaks of it in reference to singular, just a single sort of chaplain, then when I say single, I'm meaning one. But anyway, with that, I think this does not limit it then to if the school board in their policy should so choose, then they could have such as, could be a Methodist minister, Episcopalian, Catholic. They could have more than one, whether it's being on a rotating basis or whatever. So this doesn't limit it, as I understand the bill. I didn't see any limit.
Well, the key thing is that because it's at the request of the administrator, you're going to have the type minister they want. See what I mean? If just like,
But it doesn't limit it to one, though.
no, it doesn't limit to
that's
anything
what-
like
yeah,
that,
right.
and that goes in line with just as I
Right.
said again, my general thinking. We've let me just share something with you. I learned that early on, and when I say early on, I'm telling y'all my age, but I was in college, and when I learned that, I took we talk about class. I took a class called Comparative Religion, and when I took that class called Comparative Religion, we had to take an exam, and the exam question was that it was something like 200 some religions. They said, well, I want you to compare all the religions, and this was my answer. And of course, I got an A out the course. Everybody's sitting there doing 200 comparison. This religion do this and this. My answer was simply this: you can't compare religion. Religion's an individual thing, one-on-one with you and your God, and that's where it lies. That's why they are able to make that request. And of course, just for the record, I got an A out the course.
Yeah, very good.
So that's what you see here. So
Right.
yes, what you said is right. But it gives each one of them individually to make that request and ask the permission from the school for them to be able to.
Right, so the local authority, the local board then, which I'm strong on that anyway, with most areas of school policy. But anyway, that does allow for them to make that choice if they want more than one chaplain designated. Of course, they'll be up to them with their policy.
Right,
Okay, thank you.
and even because whatever request, you may have 5 teachers that, and not the same time, but they may make that request, and there may be 5 different ministers.
Oh,
And that flexibility is there.
Right, thank you.
I also want to point out to answer that it's not necessarily just a minister too. It's someone that's been through and completed the recognized chaplain training program.
That's right.
So I know Representative Gidley was bursting out of his seat. So I thought I would share that part with everyone.
You're correct.
Representative DuBose.
I want to thank you, Senator Smitherman, for bringing this bill. Bishop Lowe called me last summer and asked if I would be a supporter of this bill, and right away he got my support. He lives in my district,
Okay.
and I think this is much needed. I think we've clarified a couple of the issues that we had last week, teacher, employee, some of these things. We've clarified it, and hopefully we're going to be able to pass this out of committee for you today, but I want to thank you for bringing this, and thank you to my other representative friends for working together on this important bill.
And thank you too.
Representative Drummond.
I move to give the bill a favorable report as amended.
Thank you. Representative Drummond has moved to give the bill as amended a favorable report, seconded by Representative Morris. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One more comment. Representative Estes.
I think we can also look at this, we're looking at it as a spiritual thing. And of course, this is a spiritual discussion. But as much effort as our state has put into mental health in the last several years, to me, this is as much a mental health bill as it is a spiritual bill. So I think if we think of it more in that manner as opposed to just a spiritual bill, it's more palatable to a lot of people because you're just really trying to give our teachers another resource to help them cope if they're going through a difficult time. So to me, this is a mental health issue.
And I think I appreciate you just bringing out that point as well. I won't prolong us, but I guess you said, boy, what kind of experience you had at everything. But I used to be a volunteer at transitional homes. That's actually people leaving Bryce, and they come in, we trying to get them adjusted to come back. And even the people working there, it fits the category of what you're talking about. They constantly, they needed this kind of services as well. So you're right, what you pointed out. That's an area as well.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 294, as amended, has been given a favorable report. And now we'll call up Senate Bill 171.
Madam President, this is one I I can lay it on the hay for y'all. Just
Okay.
like this.
That'll be good.
All right. This is a class
That'll
one.
get you to your next committee.
This is class one. It only deals with the Birmingham system because they're class one. But just to tell you like this, most people know I coach, and I coach at Ramsey High School. One of the problems we have in our system is that we have, and I mean, I'm just going to tell you how it really is. We have a athletic director who went to high school at another one of our high schools. I'm just going to tell you the true story. Went to one of our high schools, and for his whole career, he never could get to the state because we would always beat him every year. So he got to be the athletic director. He got a mad on for that school. And one of the things that they would not do, they would not publish to the students when, you know how you have middle school students? They have to come to the school and take a test. And you have to, you have to do, it's a lot of hoops you have to jump to get into school because it offers IP, AP, engineering, STEM, law. They don't offer any regular courses. If you come to the school, there's going to be everything is accelerated. And so because of that, it's intentional that they keep the information away from the parents and the other students who are at the middle schools because they're not a zone because the whole system is their zone. So they don't get treated like a zone school where you bring people in. And so consequently, they are just blocked out. So what this says is that a student in that system has a right to get this information that you can apply, you can go, and you can do whatever it is. It doesn't give them a guarantee to get in, but they don't even know the process, and it's deliberately done. This is something that we've been fighting for about 5 years that this has been happening. So this is one of the things that we had to do, to try to make sure that it was assured that these parents will be able to get this information so they can make an informed decision about their children.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the senator? Do I hear a motion? Move from Representative Paramore, Representative Morris, second from Representative Morris. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Senate Bill 171 is given a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Smitherman, for joining us.
Thank you all very,
and
very
working
much.
with us. Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll.
Thank you. I'm going to be carrying Senate Bill 98 for Senator Orr, and so I'm going to give the gavel to my Vice Chair Baker.
All right. At this time, then, we will call up Senate Bill 98.
Trying to think how I want to start. Senator Orr has a desire to make sure all our schools are safe and are hardened and that is inspected. And so this bill, and then Speaker Ledbetter actually had a school safety, he reinstated in the House a school safety task force. And so we were meeting unbeknownst to Senator Orr and had some different thoughts or some additional thoughts, really. We're not conflicting. So this bill is about school safety, but it's really doing two things. And so what I want to walk you through that is that it is doing a school safety program, which would, and this was important to both Senator Orr and to our House task force, for everyone to work together, not only at the local level, but at the state level. And so it's a lot of, when it says the State Board of Education, it's talking about the Department of Education in consultation with ALEA, the state law enforcement agency, and the state fire marshal, because it's about keeping our schools safe. And so what it does is it sets up the fire safety fund that they would decide who has the greatest need. It would no longer be the sub that you saw last night, no longer uses an A through F, but it uses a color code. So they would decide what fit into each of those. They would work together to make those decisions. It would hire district safety. Well, let me finish the other one. It would have mapping in here to make sure that the mapping's available for everyone, because that has been a challenge in the past. And then it would, by recommendation of the task force, it would talk about what the qualifications of a district safety coordinator. And what we've had in the past is a school safety coordinator, but that was somewhat confusing because you didn't know, is that for an individual school? Is that for a system? And so we're going to call it a district safety coordinator. This bill spells out what those qualifications are and then what the duties of that person are. And so they are usually designated, and they may change from time to time, like all of our school administration does. And so therefore, having something in print that they know what their duties are is important. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can go to the public hearing.
Well, before we take questions in, we do have a public hearing. We will be. Yeah, I think it might be better for, let's allow the public hearing if we could then, Representative Drummond and Representative Morris, if that would be okay, permissible then to move forward, and then that way there may be some things that enlighten us then before questions are entertained. That'd be okay. All right, this time then we will move forward then with the public hearing. I would ask that each of the speakers, if you might would identify yourself either as an individual or associated, affiliated with an entity. Adam, let's maybe limit each speaker then to no more than 3 minutes. Okay. And I would ask then if there has been then comments that have been made, try not to be redundant or repetitive. Would call then the first, this would be a proponent, Leah Missildine.
I'll make this very fast because I need to follow Senator Smitherman to the committee meeting he's in. So, good afternoon, committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of Senate Bill 98 today. I'm Leah Missildine, the Executive Director for the Alabama 911 Board. As you are aware, 911 plays an integral role in school safety. In 2019, the legislature assigned our board the task of deploying and operating a statewide 911 system that utilizes emerging technologies to deliver critical pieces of information to appropriate public safety agencies in the event of emergencies. In other words, we were tasked with modernizing our outdated 911 system with the next generation of technology that allows so much more than just a voice call to 911. In the past 5 years, we've been able to deploy the Alabama Next Generation Emergency Network to every 911 center in our state, which allows for redundancy, reliability, scalability, resiliency of our emergency communications systems. The deployment of that network has enhanced the accessibility to and the capabilities of 911. You may be asking yourself, Leah, what does this have to do with Senate Bill 98? I would ask you to think of it this way. Our board has been able to build a vehicle that has positioned 911 to continue to operate during Hurricane Sally, the Nashville Christmas Day data center bombing, cyber attacks, telephone company outages, etc. As you can imagine, that technological overhaul of the legacy 911 system is also a significant financial investment paid for by the 911 surcharge levied on Alabama residents. Senate Bill 98's creation of the school security program would not only serve to bolster the life-saving potential in the event of an emergency, but it adds value to the investment we as a state have already made by making that vehicle we've built even more powerful. Very specifically, the school mapping data program, as it's named in Senate Bill 98, could provide critical data to our public safety entities in their response to an emergency on school grounds via platforms that already exist in every 911 center today. Those types of partnerships and collaborations between various organizations are where we truly maximize our capabilities. On a little bit of a personal note, and as someone that has taken a 911 call at a school and I didn't know how it would end, and as the mother of an 8-year-old that wants to grow up to be just like his firefighter paramedic daddy, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize that Senate Bill 98 would strengthen not only the 911 board's initiatives, but other organizations and initiatives that invest in the protection of our children and our communities. So
Thank you for your remarks. Next would be an opponent, Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair. Signing up as an opponent to this bill may be somewhat of a misnomer. I'm Graham Champion. I represent Inside. We support 80% of this bill. There's just one section of the bill that we have some opposition to, and that's Section 4, which is the mapping. in front of you, you see some big posters with maps on them, but you also should have it at your seat, a copy of each of these two maps. And they show the two different types of maps that you might get. Currently, every school in the state of Alabama is mapped, just like you see on Exhibit A, on the map that you have there. You'll notice that on that map, you'll see where the fire extinguishers are, the fire alarms are, where AEDs are, where virtually every kind of emergency method that you could have. There's a software system that exists in conjunction with this where the school can lock the school down. They can do any number of things. This already exists. When the mapping was done originally, back in 2014, 2015, it was done through ALEA. And ALEA decided they didn't want it. And they gave it up and they gave it to the State Department of Education. Now ALEA wants it back. ALEA has access, if they ask for it, to any of this mapping data and information that's there, as does any other first responder that's out there, be it law enforcement, be it emergency services, be it fire. They have that. This legislation in Section 4, if we have to go back and remap everything, would take 1 to 2 years to remap it. The cost would be exorbitant. It would just be a duplication of what we already have in place. Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, we think that this needs to be further studied by your House task force as you move forward to try to clean up the language. As I said, we support 80% of the bill. We just have a problem with going back and reinventing a wheel that already exists and is working well within all of the different school systems. So the next person listed on there as an opponent, Mr. Chair, is Steve McKinney, who is the CEO of Inside. He's here to answer any questions that you might have as opposed to make comments. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Then we'll continue then to alternate though between the proponents and opponents. Then next, a proponent, Sam Adams. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've misstated, a proponent. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm Sam Adams. I'm the Governmental Relations Director at ALEA and thankful to be here. I just wanted to say that on behalf of Secretary Taylor and all the men and women at ALEA, we appreciate the cooperation and support that Senator Orr, Chair Collins, and Speaker Ledbetter and others have given to put attention to this effort of school safety in our state. There's so many threats that are out there, and we appreciate this look at bolstering our schools and giving them the tools and information they need. We're supportive of this bill. We're comfortable with our role in it, and we appreciate the opportunity to comment on the final, what's possibly the final outcome. We want a system that gives our law enforcement entities, whether they're local or state or even federal, the information they need to respond to a critical incident in a timely manner. We have the ability, as the way this is written, to incorporate this information into our current ALACOP system, that anyone that has access as a law enforcement officer would be able to roll up to a school. They have a single sign-in password that gets them into the system, and they would have access to that school's mapping information to know where the different locations in the school are. It'd be updated regularly and, like I said, highly accessible to those. One of the things that we really appreciate about the bill is to kind of stay in our lane of law enforcement and to work with those law enforcement entities. Let the Department of Education work with the school entities and manage that part, but at the same time allow us to have a consultation along with the State Fire Marshal so that we're all on the same page about it. So I appreciate it, the opportunity to come here, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to to answer them anytime.
Thank you for your remarks. Next, an opponent, Steve McKinney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dr. Steve McKinney. Again, I am the founder and CEO of Inside. We are the company that's been doing this work for the last 10 years. So first and foremost, it is important to understand every school is mapped. It's done. It's already done. So doing it again would be a duplication that would cost you something around $5 to $10 million. Or you could have a phone call that would tell the Department of Education to give Aaliyah and everyone else the data for free, and that would be the end of it. So to Representative Collins' point there is the collaboration is the issue, not the technology, not the data, all of that. That's not the problem. So I am very, 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 very pro this bill. I think it is a phenomenal bill. Section 4 is a waste of taxpayers' dollars, a redundancy, and just honestly has the potential to cause massive disruption to the last 10 years of work. So, and just kind of a final point on that, as it is, data can be shared in all of these formats that we've talked about. But again, it just has to be directed to do so, right? The issue has been is that we have this and we can export it into any system that Aaliyah has. As a matter of fact, Allacop, as they mentioned, was supported until 2018 as a sign-on system for Inside. And so all of that is very possible. It's not an issue. It just simply has to be directed to be done. And so who holds the contract, which is the Department of Education, has been our boss. And when they tell us to do something, we do it. So my advice would be on this is, first, if possible, give us a week to talk about and educate on this portion of it and coordinate with the entities involved. Just give us a few days. I'll be glad to come by and sit with each of you and show you exactly what we have and what has been done. That would be my first request. If that's not possible, if the bill must be pushed forward today, then regretfully, my request would be to strike Section 4. So that's kind of our position with it. I would welcome any questions, and again, I would love to, again, over the next several days, be able to come and meet with any of you individually and show you what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker would be Ryan Hollingsworth, who shared is in support of the bill, but with concerns.
Yeah, I'm down the middle of the road, so there was not a column for that. I think a lot of our concerns have already been addressed earlier by the two speakers sitting behind me. Had a group of superintendents in our office this morning and asked that very question. Don't you already have this in place? And they said, yes. I said, how much time did it take and how much was it expensive? And it took a lot of time to get all that information in that. So our concern is if you're going to use a different platform, make sure that what we've already done can be put in the new platform, and that would take care of a lot of those issues. Second, there are a lot of requirements in the bill as far as professional development, inspections, and all those kind of things, but I don't see any money attached to that, like who's going to cover the cost for those things. And I don't see anything in the budget so far or the supplemental that would address those. And for this thing to take effect pretty soon, there's a lot of requirements for that district safety coordinator, which I'm all about. I'm all about the collaboration, but they're over like 2 pages of responsibilities here. And so to add that responsibility onto a current employee that already has a full slate of responsibilities, it's almost like it's a full-time job. And so if that's the case, then, there's not money for that either. So if we're requiring that, then as a state, then we need to look at trying to take care of that as far as the costs go. But other than that, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your remarks. With that, then, the public hearing has been closed. Would the sponsor want to share any comments before I take up questions?
I think that we have worked through. I think we've gotten a lot closer than we have ever been as of today. I think that whatever product is offered, that everyone would be qualified to do an RFP. This committee is not to choose that. We're just setting up the process. I also have wondered about some of the funding issues as well, and Senator Orr is the funding chairman, so therefore I have had confidence he's working on those details. I would like to say, as far as the district school and the things that we're asking them to do, they're really the ones that they're already doing a lot of it in place. It just spells it out so if someone is new, they know what's expected of them. So that's what that is for. I actually have 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, proceed.
One is to Leah, and I'm really not sure who they're to, so I'm just going to ask my questions, and if you know the answer, if you could help me, that would be great. I was under the impression that with the current product that we're using, some locations are sharing those maps and data. Is that accurate? I guess that's
Sam,
Leah.
could you might could step to the mic and maybe address that. Thank you.
I've got my sidekick.
Very good.
Jay Mosley, he's a Homeland Security Director, and he's going to say what he can about that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Jay Mosley. Could you ask that question again? I think I understand you, but I want to be clear.
Right now, I'm under the impression that with the current system we have in place, there are places that are sharing the maps, that those are being shared appropriately. That collaboration's just not working across the board in the state. Is that accurate? Are there some local law enforcement that do have access to the maps and are able to use them?
Yes, ma'am. So my understanding is each school district, each a city, so if it's Prattville City Schools, the Prattville Police Department has access to those maps. Can I expand on that?
Please.
So at Aaliyah, we don't have access to those maps unless we specifically say, can I get Prattville? Can I get Decatur? Can I get, and we're under the impression that it's up to each individual school district. We did get one SBI agent access to all the maps, but that took a big heavy lift and a lot of coordination. But as it stands now, the local police department has access to those local schools. But a first responder responding outside the jurisdiction, if it's the river region, Montgomery doesn't have access to Prattville schools.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And this may be for the new system as well. Is that data transferable that we've already got in the system? Do you know that answer, Jay? Like if we went to a new system, would everyone have to re-enter everything that they've been working on?
So I'll give you my understanding of that, and it might be a better question for Dr. McKinney. But from my end, we can take that information that the state already owns, that Insight is holding, and put it into our system. And our system, I don't know if it's okay it's public record. We use Esri's system for mapping. Most of the state does. So we can take that and put it into our system for the schools that are already mapped and instantly have those available.
So you believe that information isn't a input challenge for every single district? It smoothly transitions.
Yes, ma'am. But again, that might be a better question for Dr. McKinney, but I'm under the impression that we can take that information that's already mapped, whatever percentage of schools that are already mapped, take that, put it in ours fairly seamlessly.
Dr. McKinney,
if you can find that out, I would love to know that answer.
Yes, ma'am, we can. Yes.
Dr. McKinney, if you might would step to the mic and just sort of follow up to his commentary.
So the short answer is yes, right? Is all of these systems can use any open standard formats. So the problem that you run into, though, is when the schools, which are now editing their maps, when they update their emergency operations plans, right? They change them, then it's disconnected, right? That's the problem. So what actually needs to happen, and even opposed to what CRG and other entities are proposing, is a static one-time thing, as opposed to a system that allows you to change it every semester if you need to, right? And the school has the ability to change that as they modify their emergency operations plans. So the editing of it is a big deal. You want the data source to be live, right? You want it to be connected, not just a copy. So that would be my
Thank you.
caution.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Those were my questions.
Thank you. As we continue with questions, Representative Drummond.
I guess I'm going to piggyback on the sponsor question. So there is no unified system where all entities that are involved can pull this data from.
No, ma'am. That's right now. And for instance, there are several ALEA folks that have logins, like Jay had alluded to. So what it is based off of is just permissions. So Inside is the system that has been contracted since 2015 with the state of Alabama for this purpose. It is for every school, all of them. We have all of the schools and most of the private schools and most of the colleges too in the system. And they all can participate together with law enforcement.
But currently they're not doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
The collaboration is the
So
problem.
my question to the sponsor, and I was looking through the bill, is there any language in here, and money-wise as well as in the bill itself, that will help us to create a unified system where all can participate and communicate with each other as uses of these facilities may or may not change? And that's my question to the sponsor. And then I have one more.
As the sponsor, that's been my goal as I've worked through this bill. Whether we're talking about the mapping, where we're talking about the state level, where we're talking about the local level, the fire, the emergency management, 911, for everybody to be required annually at that local level at every school district. So that's what that district safety coordinator would do, is gather the right people together. And actually, it includes the mental health coordinator, because a lot of our threats and all come from mental health issues. And so at least one time, all of those people get together locally. That's what this bill spells out. But this also spells out by continuously through the bill that the Department of Ed, the ALEA, and the fire marshal are in consultation with everybody. So trying to force that collaboration at the local, at the state, and all in between is my goal with this bill.
Let me frame the question. I understand the physical collaboration of all of those partners, but my question is technology-wise. That is the question I'm asking. Is there a mechanism in the bill technologically for all of those entities to be on the same par and have access to the same data, depending on what their needs are, from the Department of Ed to ALEA to Insight, to all of those entities? Because it seems this is really valuable data, and especially as it relates to security in our schools. But if 911 needs it right now, can they go and access, and all of these other entities know what is going on? And when you're doing the security check, everybody's on the same page, not partnerships with each other, but all have access technologically with the same data. That's my question.
My understanding, the best I can tell so far, is that I think both of the groups that we're talking about can do that. I don't think we have done that in the past. I think their technology both allow that.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, and since we're dealing with the person who's responsible for the budget, I would think that it would be prudent upon the sponsors to make sure the money is there so that we can create a unified system where all can communicate and have access to the data. And if it's not in there, I would strongly suggest we do that.
I do think that the sponsor has it in the budget, yes.
Well, we need the language in the bill as well to sort of make sure it happens.
Okay.
Madam Chair, the one thing I think to address what Ms. Drummond is saying is the technology is there. If this committee, or if the legislature in its wisdom would mandate the cooperation among all of the players, that would go a long way to solving the disruption or the disjointed situation that we have right now. And y'all can do that very simply by saying it is mandated that the following.
Thank you.
Representative Morris. Okay. Representative Estes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to clarify a couple points here and get my mind around a few things. When Inside was contracted to do this work, if I understand, because I wasn't around in 2015, tax money was used, funneled through the State Department of Education to contract these maps to be done, correct? Okay, so I guess I'm asking an intellectual property rights here. Since the state paid for that, does the state own that, own the mapping, the current mapping, or does Inside own that, or y'all are just under contract to continually?
Our software and database holds the data. The data belongs to the state of Alabama.
Okay, that would be my thing. I was wanting to make sure we weren't interfering on your intellectual property.
No, sir.
But since the state paid for you to do that under contract, then that would belong to the state of Alabama. So that's one thing.
And many of the schools as well have paid for other things to be done.
Okay.
So expansions. So there's been local funds and state funds.
Okay. I just want to commend you, Chairman, for bringing this. I'm fully supportive of this, of what we're doing. I just want to make sure we were not legally stepping on the toes of a private company, taking something away from them that they had legal right to have. And I agree with what the gentleman said earlier. I think we need to find a way, if Senator Orr and you are open to this, if it's not already clearly stated in there, that we require participation for everyone to be a team player in this, to make sure that we're doing that. And if we do that, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
We have tried to do that in this bill. We've probably not used the word mandate, but we've used cooperation and consultation, and we've said, and we shall, and we have done
Representative
the
Paramore.
best we could.
Yeah, I have one question. How often are these updated? Because I know a building may not change, but the interior of that building may change.
Good question.
So that is also the purpose of the software. So the schools or anyone that they designate can have a login, and if they are authorized to update that map or any of the data, the plans, any of it, they can do it daily, they can do it yearly, whatever that may be. They're required to update it at least once a year. Everything in the system, it basically July 1 goes yellow is what we call it, because that is the time where everything is required to be in review for the coming school year.
Okay, and forgive me because I had to go speak to a group. I may have missed this. Does 911 have this information?
That's the missing piece. Sometimes they do. For instance, I'll give you Autauga County is a great example. Autauga County, they have done an excellent job of making sure all the schools, all of the law enforcement agencies, the EMA and the 911 all have the data, all have access. That is not uniform everywhere. It's possible with literally the sending of an invitation for a user invite. But
okay. If you
Continue.
don't mind, I move to give the bill a favorable report.
Well, if we
gotta do
need,
the
we do
substitute.
have the sub.
I move to
actually,
give the substitute a favorable report at the appropriate time. Adopt it.
Okay, there's been a motion to adopt this.
Whatever we got to do.
Is there a second? All right, there's been a motion to adopt the sub, and then a second by Representative Morris. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the sub has been adopted.
Now I move to give the bill a favorable report as substituted.
Okay, there's been a motion to give the bill a favorable report as substituted, and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And with that, then, we have SB 98 as substituted has been given a favorable report. With that, Madam Chair, I return the gavel to you.
Thank you very much. I want to say a couple of things. We have been working on this bill. If there's language changes or stronger or something, we are open to that. We would like to get this moving. I think it sets up some structure that we don't have that force that collaboration and all. And so I would like to see it move, but I am happy to continue to work. I also don't know that we will meet again. We could. I'm not saying we're not, but we might not. And so I would love for everybody to especially give our clerk, Adam, a hand. Thank you, Adam, for keeping me straight. And then Ethan has been with us all the time. Ethan, let's thank him. And I want to thank my extremely thorough question-filled committee for making sure that we're doing the best thing that we can. And so with that, we are adjourned.